All right, well, we are going to start, as we normally do, with the crack. And, in fact, you're going to lead us off, King.
Yeah, well, the news today that broke at Christian Petracca's season is over is a genuine shame that we lose one of the stars of the competition in this fashion. We wish him all the best and we hope that he gets well very soon. But that is the end of Melbourne's season. And I guess now you have to just look at what can be gathered and what can be gained from the back half of the year. I look at the Swans a few years ago when they said, OK, this is not going to be our year, and almost by design said, let's take a step back to then go forward again in 18 months' time, and that worked effectively for them. I'd love to see a few different things. I'd love to see Simon Goodwin now really explore with this set of magnets. I'd love to see Caleb Windsor go inside as a genuine midfielder from the wing and see what this young fella can do. He might be the rising star winner. Who knows? Just waiting in the wings. We've seen him in traffic. He's looked very good. Hasn't been in a centre bounce yet. Like to see McVeigh or Rivers, or McVeigh, I should say, or Rivers get more opportunity as prime midfielders, because the domino effect of losing this guy is huge. But don't let it be all doom and gloom. Let's excite. Let's give the fans a reason to still go to the football with these young kids.
So you think it's season over for them, though, in terms of them actually challenging?
Yeah. Oh, look, if he's not their best player, he's their second best player. And Clayton Oliver's not Clayton Oliver of old. Viney's getting a lot of footy, but not as damaging as what he was. And Cozzy Pickett's going in the middle, but not doing as much as what you'd hoped. They just couldn't afford to lose this magnet. And sometimes you just got to be sensible enough to say, no, this is not our year. I just feel like this isn't their time. So accept it. Maybe take a small step backwards, but expose these young kids to elevated priority, if you like, and give them more responsibility. And who knows what you might find. Who knows? And they may play a final, they may not. I'm not necessarily too fussed about that, but this is just their lot now.
You see it the same way, Joey?
Yeah, I don't think they're at the moment. It's going to have to be a dramatic turnaround for them to be a real, genuine premiership contender this year. They could still play finals. Could they get on a heater late? We always say teams could, but history says it very rarely happens. So I'm a bit with King. And now time to just mix it up. They've still got another crack in them next year if they get everything fit and healthy and get their system and their plan right. So maybe it is the chance to try and experiment and just change up what's been a pretty solid and formidable sort of system for a number of years.
And my pre-season for some of these guys might start at round 20.
Yeah, OK.
Yeah, let's put a line through them if it trends that way, and make sure you're absolutely cherry ripe and hungry to go for round 1 of next year.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the supporters think of that. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Tackle, our very first Thursday episode for the season. Huge day of footy news and we've got it all for you. My name is Lauren Wood. I'm joined by my Herald Sun colleagues Sam Landsberger and John Ralph. And boys, incredibly unfortunate news today with Christian Petracca's season officially over. He's had the lacerated spleen, the broken ribs, the punctured lung. That is all she wrote for Christian Petracca this season. Here's what he had to say on Instagram today announcing the news. He's thankful for love and support. While his season may have come to an end, I'm grateful I still have the opportunity to give my all in 2025. In the meantime, I'll be cheering the boys on from the sidelines and making some tasty meals in the kitchen. We know he fancies himself as a little bit of a chef, and incredibly unfortunate news from his hospital bed today, Sam.
Yeah, incredible news. I don't think he'll be making some meals for some time. I think he's going to be hospitalised for a little time at least. I can tell you that it's not his lungs, it's not the ribs, it's definitely the spleen that's ruled him out for the year. Nasty injury. They take a very, very long time to heal. So if he copped another whack to that lacerated spleen, there's a chance he might not have made it to Epworth Hospital in an ambulance. That's how serious the injury can be. So just for a bit of context here, when a player contracts glandular fever, sometimes you can suffer some inflammation of the spleen through the virus. Now, any player with glandular that does suffer inflammation, they can't even do contact training for 4 to 6 weeks. That's how sensitive this organ is. So Jeff White, he missed 10 weeks with a lacerated spleen in 1997. He's recommended swimming for Christian Petracca, obviously a non-contact way to keep fit. Mason Cox had it last year. He lost 2 to 3 litres of blood in internal bleeding. He came back in about 6 weeks, less severe injury, but just a shocking blow for the Demons, and it's left their season in all sorts, John.
So how did this play out today, Loz? So all we get basically is an alert from Christian Petracca. You have to look at his Instagram profile. How did this play out with the Demons today?
On his business Instagram Instagram profile, no less, Ralphie. We mentioned the cooking before. I mean, I spoke to the club this morning and the situation was, as we had expected it to be today, that he was in the intensive care unit, he'd be moved to the general ward, which then happened today. And I think at that stage, the expectation was that there probably wouldn't be another update until he was potentially home from hospital. There was a little bit more of a timeline. As you say, it was early afternoon. He posted that on Instagram. And then we heard from the club a little bit later. It seems like it was the doctors that made that final call. That is going to be it from today. And let's not drag it on, I guess, any longer. So the club then said later today that following that medical advice, it was, I guess, deemed that Christian would be unable to even resume contact training for at least another 12 weeks. Takes you to the final series, so just call it now.
You know, my issue on this, that sometimes players will go back on with rib injuries. And so if we are going to change the policy, let's have it across the entire AFL community. But I don't know why Melbourne's burying their head in the sand on this one. I don't know why that they're letting this be conveyed by Instagram statements and all these type of things. If I was the parents of Colton Tholstrup or Caleb Windsor or any of these players, I'd be thinking, what's going on here? So Melbourne says through their statement, rather than through a press conference from Alan Richardson or Kate Roffey or Gary Pert, everything's fine, you know, with the best interests of this player at heart. So if I was those parents, I'd be saying I would want this club to say, we're just going to have a bit of a review. It might be a week-long review, but we will make sure that we are in a current world standard practice, that we have done all the right things. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can. Because right now, you've been thinking, what is happening at Melbourne Football Club? All that happens in an information vacuum is misinformation thrives. And we're all asking questions out there. How did the punctured lung happen? And, you know, should they have been more aware of it? Alan Richardson has been through this situation at 7 clubs. Just talk to us about it, and a lot of those questions would be put at ease, or the people would be put at ease, and everyone would move on.
But you're questioning the club doctors, and we know that's a no-go zone in football. I mean, it's just about the hardest job in football being a club doctor. There's the concussion climate at the moment. There's the threat of, you know, of club doctors getting sued. There's lawsuits hanging over doctors in the AFL. Last year, the situation Mark Fisher went through at Port Adelaide when he sent those concussed players back on the ground. It's a thankless task. A lot of them can earn more in private practice than at AFL clubs. I'm not sure Melbourne really could have gone down the path that you suggested and thrown their club doctors under the bus.
So they don't need to throw them under the bus. They just need to talk to us. If they say we have done nothing wrong, I have a huge amount of sympathy for them. So many of these club doctors, Sammy, as you know well, they become like brothers and sisters and family members to these players who they take such great interest in, who become their family doctors. And so I understand all those things. Melbourne was in a very tough situation. But my point to Alan Richardson, or whoever it might be, Kate Roffey, we never hear anything from Kate Roffey in the tough times. Come out and say, we understand it was a 50-50 situation. Maybe we got this one wrong, but we have the interests of our players at heart. It's the optics here. It's the way that they explain it as much as the information itself.
Well, especially in a bye week too. I know the players now are off until Monday. Footy department staff may be having a few days off. So I'm with you, Ralphie. Nip it in the bud. Get this thing over with. What does it mean for them, I guess, in a footy sense? Because Christian Petracca, we know he's such a key player for them. I mean, that's the understatement of the century, isn't it? What on earth can they do without them as they desperately, I guess, push for a spot in the final?
Oh, I think they're done. I don't think they could have won the premiership anyway, given some of their midfield connection. But Christian Petracca is their game breaker. I mean, you look at his last 3 years leading into this year: 700 possessions and 29 goals, 670 and 19, 695 and 28 is their mix that Mr. Fix-It. They flow him forward when they're in strife. When they need a centre square win, back he goes in. So when you think of how they won a premiership, 3 massive finals, culminating in a Norm Smith, 39 possessions and a goal. So maybe if Clayton Oliver was playing somewhere near his best, but all of a sudden you've got one of your stars at half strength and one of your stars is done for the season, and how do we know how he comes back next year?